I I do.
Yes.
How do you know what is resistance to growth versus just knowing that something isn't right for my growth?
You know, I get a lot of how do you know questions. And experience tells you, the mind will never tell you, but the changes that take place inside you as you evolve and grow in your life tells you that's how you know. One day you're living a little bit differently. One day your understanding is a little bit deeper. Your comprehension is deeper. Things that didn't make sense 6 months ago begin to fall into line, and your chemistry is capable of opening to them and learning. And that's how you know. Otherwise, you could try to figure this out in your brain until you're 150 years old. And I promise you, you're not going to get anywhere. The mind will never comprehend spiritual changes. You understand? Experience will. Looking back at your life 5 years and seeing how different you are today, that's how you know. I don't know how else to answer that, because I get this, how do I know if I'm making the right choice? Well, you won't know until you make a choice. And you'll find out. Most people, they putz around trying to make a choice. They never make the choice, and they're always, how do I know it's the right? So you don't know. And frankly, even choices that are mistakes are not the wrong choice. They're just opportunities to learn and grow. That's how you know. Life tells you because you're ready to be told. You're ready to hear the next lesson that your karma will bring to you. That's how you know. Other than that, we try to guess and pick and choose, and we make ourselves crazy. And if you spend all your time thinking, how do I know? You'll never get anywhere. Because it's just fear that makes people say, how do I know? How do I know that's the right choice? You don't know until you make a choice. You got to step forward. You got to take the initiative to do something with your life, make a choice. Then you'll find out. And usually, if you're growing and developing a strong chakra system inside yourself, your choices are very conscious choices, because that's where you've arrived in yourself. You're capable of making conscious choices. So I don't, know the answer to how do you know, other than the answer I just given. I hope it helps, because you got to let go finally. You got to take chances in life. And as long as you ask, how do I know? Then there's a skeptical you trying to, make sure that you're safe. And, and nobody's safe. Everybody has to take chances, and everybody is dealing with a world that there isn't a lot of safety in. The only safety I've ever found is building a strong inner life that's connected to spirit. It's the only safety I've ever found in life. And that's the only thing that's ever told me, how I've evolved, how I've grown, how to make conscious choices. So I don't know how else to answer that. I hope it helps. And a big part of it is just trust. Trust yourself. And the truth is, you might never know. But you will experience something that if you use it properly, even if it's a mistake, it'll take you to the next level in your spiritual development. And even mistakes. It's just life working out the way it's supposed to work out, not the way we think it should work out. Life just unfolds. And it unfolds and it presents us with wonderment. It presents us with so many opportunities to grow and develop ourselves, not only spiritually, but as human beings, you know? And then you discover, here's where I am. You find out exactly where, every time you make a choice, you find out exactly where you are in your evolution. That's how you know. Life will tell you. Now, the secret in all of this is when life tells you, do you learn? Do you listen? Or do you spend a lot of time just fighting with life? Do you listen? Do you learn? Do you grow from it? Do you evolve and develop a much stronger connection with God and spirit because of the choices you made, right ones and wrong ones? We don't go looking to make wrong choices, but every choice, you make 20 choices, 5 of them, are going to be a pain in the ass, Does anyone else have a question?
Hi.
Hi.
We all have a soul path, right? Like we all have a destiny to fulfill in this lifetime. So when we are ready to follow our heart's desire, because I feel that I am ready to follow my heart, to follow my intuition, how can I dedicate to
Well, if you arrive at a place in yourself where your heart is open, there's unconditional love, there's compassion, there's kindness in you. You understand? And you want to follow your heart. Well, you have 1,000% of my support. I mean, it's the only way to live, frankly. Is your heart opens. You have instinct. Instinct is a great and creative way to use your energy because your instincts are usually right on. It's always when you start analyzing your instincts that you wind up making a mess. So if your heart has that kind of openness in it and you're centered, you're balanced inside, you have a spirit, you're receiving Shakti and energy and you want to follow your instincts, man, you have my support. I finally think it's the only way to live. But you got to be sure it's not emotional madness, that's going to wind up creating a nightmare out of your life. But it really is a deep openness inside that attracts situations that can help you in your life to grow. Because we also follow our emotions. And most of the time, they get us into a lot of trouble. So it's more than just an emotional thing. It's unconditional caring and love and surrender inside that allows the heart to get open. And then all of that creative energy flows through. And that provides instinctual understanding of life. And that's great. Most great art is instinctual. Most great music, great dance is instinctual. All trying to capture the moment, trying to capture the present, the now. So, if and when you get into that situation, dear, you have 100% of my support. Because I think it's frankly the only way to live. Well, it's not the only way to live, but it's a little life that really gives you some juice. Because in order to do it, you have to trust life. And you have to regard life as a teacher that's guiding you on your karmic path. It's not a kind of me situation. Well, I know better than everybody. And I've been doing this work, this meditation, a lot longer than everybody here, and I don't know better than anybody. Frankly, I still listen to life. Let it teach me, let it guide me, let it show me what I have to do to grow. And, not turn my back on it, not fight with it, open and let it truly, let me learn something profound from it. I mean, I think probably the most neurotic and dangerous paths to follow are the ego stuff that I know better than everybody else. My image of myself is of such magnitude, that it just does nothing but create a lot of tension and trouble and resentment and very difficult mental and emotional situations for oneself and also for other people. Well, it's a tightrope, it's a fine line. And you get the balance and you're able to make choices, because one is connected to spirit and spirit is guiding you. And spirit will enable you to make choices. And some of them will be easy and some of them are going to be hard. But all of them just represent an opportunity to grow. So my advice is, if my advice is worth anything, follow your instincts. And by following one's instincts, it doesn't mean we follow our emotions, our mind, or, this instinctive creativity that flows through. Because it only works if we get free of ourselves. And that's true. You have to get free of yourself. Then instinct really works. Does anyone else have a question?
Stuart, I have a question, Bob Sink.
Yes, Bob?
Sometimes there's a fine line between this instinctive sense that you're talking about and the mind talking. Could you help to identify so we can really tell the difference between the two?
Well, when the mind begins to think about things, Bob and everyone else, it becomes a game of rationalization, logically figuring out, examining things to their nth degree. And it's a game of fear, of wanting to do everything according to a preconceived notion about the way it should be done. Understand, the instinct I'm talking about is, it's really total surrender to God, spirit. This thing inside a human being that opens and allows higher energy to flow through, develop a chakra system, and then this higher energy guides their life. And you don't have to sit around making rational judgments and analyzing things to death. And it's kind of mental masturbation. You waste all your energy trying to figure out whether or not what you're going to do is right or wrong. And by the time you get to do it, you don't have the energy to do it. Instead of, all right, let me open. Let me be guided by spirit. Let me be guided by a higher force in the universe, not my mind, but a higher force in the universe. Let that determine the steps I have to take in my life. That's not going to happen unless a person develops a system inside themselves that allows that to happen. Meditation is for that. That's all meditation is for. I say this over and over again. What I do is not a religion. It's not a cult. There's no dogma in this. It's a craft that you learn to build a system inside that allows you, through the development of the chakras, to become a child of God. And when you consciously become this child of God, this energy just flows through you and it creates your life. I mean, I didn't create this retreat I did last weekend. This energy came. And somebody asked me, well, how do you do this? To work with 15 people that way, the intensity and the depth. I said, it's not me doing it. It's the energy that does it. I couldn't do this stuff. The energy does it. Flowing through, creating Shakti, building my system so that it's strong enough to support what went on last weekend and what goes on right now. It's the spiritual energy that does it. If I start thinking about these things, I probably would run for the hills. I probably would. I said, wow, who needs this? This is insane. I don't think about it. The energy comes and it becomes an extraordinary weekend because this higher force is what's making the weekend happen. Each class is that way. This higher energy makes it happen, not Stuart. Stuart's just a vehicle through which the energy flows. And because Stuart has worked long enough on himself to have built a system that allows that to happen. And then you don't have to figure it out. It just happens, for God's sake. What happened this Saturday and Sunday and Friday just happened. I didn't sit down and figure this thing out. It just happened. I just thank God that I have a chemistry that's strong enough to allow that type of experience for myself and for other people. I mean, every book I've ever written happened that way. Even the one I'm writing now, I don't think about it. I just go there and suddenly it happens. I really mean it. I haven't thought of one line in this book to write. I sit down, there it is in front of it, and it just happens. And what's coming out makes my mouth drop. And then you have a craft as a writer, so you know how to edit this and change a word and put a period and a comma. And then Kenny does editing for me, and finally have a finished product. But it just happens. I don't think Van Gogh thought about his art. It happened. He went out on a field and this explosion of energy manifested on a canvas. He had the craft to turn it into a wonderful work of art. So what we do here is we build a craft. We use the mind and the breath as tools to develop a chakra system that is strong enough to where that energy can flow through us and guide our lives. And it's not going to guide your life unless you're really a happy person inside. There's joy, there's love, there's compassion, there's kindness inside. This energy will just bounce right off of you unless you have your heart open. And if you think about it, again, it's spiritual, mental, and masturbate. You really destroy the experience. You eat up all the energy from the experience when you begin to analyze it and figure it out. When I write books, I write them, it's on the, and then I craft them and this and that and use my knowledge of writing and how to put sentences together and use the right words. And, you know, does anyone else have a question?
Thank you, sir. That was a great answer.
You're welcome, Bob. Thank you for the question. Thank you, Aileen, for the question. Who else asked the question? Somebody else. Thank you.
Thank you.
What?
Thank you.
Too long ago for me to remember. Does anyone else have I have a question. Does anyone else have a question? Okay, thank you. Bless you all. Once again, there's going to be a birthday retreat. There's still some open places, not a lot. So if you want to go, get in touch with Jennifer and she will give you all the particulars. And thank you. Bless you all for being here. As I tell you after every class, you all are my teacher. Your presence here really makes me work my ass off. That opening to draw down Shakti. And I'm very grateful to each and every person. So God bless you all and thank you. And there'll be a class on, what is today, Monday, on Wednesday evening. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody.
Thank you,
Right.
so Stuart.
Thank you.
Thank
you, Stuart.
Good night, Stuart. Good night.